In 1860, stagecoach superintendent Jack Slade lay in a pool of his own blood after Jules Beni ambushed him, firing multiple shots from both a six-shooter and a shotgun. Doctors were certain he would die, but they were wrong. 3 years later, it was Slade who stood over Benny's body, not just killing him, but also taking his ears as trophies. Yet the most twisted part of this frontier tale isn't the brutal revenge, it's what happened to Slade afterward. The respected lawman spiraled into drinking, violence, and eventually faced his own execution. Before we find out what happened to Slade, make sure to subscribe to never miss another gripping tale from the Wild West. The tale of Jack Slade's transformation begins not with Slade himself, but with the man who would become his mortal enemy. Jules Beni established himself on the Colorado frontier in 1858, building a small trading post at the upper crossing of the South Platte River. His mixed heritage, half French Canadian, half Indian, gave him unique advantages as a trapper and trader in the territory, allowing him to navigate between different worlds on the frontier. Benny's trading post quickly became a gathering spot of the Western territories. Traders shared space with Indian fighters fresh from skirmishes, while fugitives had drinks in dark corners. On any given night, rough trappers might trade stories with cattle drivers, while weary travelers kept their backs to the wall and hands near their weapons. Those who knew Jules Beni saw a shrewd businessman whose violent tendencies served both as a reputation and business strategy. Like a wolf marking territory, Beni ruled through intimidation, enforcing his will with fists or firearms whenever necessary. In the untamed Colorado territory, such methods proved effective, and a settlement grew around his trading post. This settlement, eventually named Julesburg after its founder, occupied a strategic location on the Oregon Trail, ensuring steady traffic and growing prosperity. As Julesburg flourished, suspicions about Benny's true practices surfaced. Stagecoaches passing through reported robberies, almost as if some inside information guided these attacks. Jack Slade entered Julesburg as the newly appointed superintendent of the Central Overland Sweetwater Division. Unlike Benny's rule through intimidation, Slade's authority stemmed from corporate backing. He quickly connected the dots that Benny was the mastermind behind all these robberies, and took decisive action, removing Benny as the station master. This humiliated Benny and stripped away his income and standing in the community he founded. This rivalry between them simmered as Benny plotted revenge. On a cold morning in 1860, Benny made his decision. Armed and ready, he waited for Slade in Julesburg, setting the stage for a confrontation that would forever alter both men's lives. The morning of March 1st, 1860 dawned cold over Julesburg, as Jules Beni positioned himself strategically in town. His plans had moved beyond simple revenge to elimination. He knew Slade would be arriving for company business, and he intended to finish their rivalry permanently. Slade rode into town unaware of the ambush awaiting him. As he dismounted, Beni made his move. Without warning, Beni drew his six-shooter and fired repeatedly at Slade. 6 rounds tore into Slade's body as he collapsed on the ground. Witnesses stood frozen in shock. Blood pooled beneath Slade as bystanders finally rushed to his aid, carrying what they had believed was his dead corpse into the nearby way station. Inevitably, no man could survive such an assault with 11 projectiles devastating his flesh, organs, and bone. In 1860, Slade's chances appeared hopeless. With modern medicine, gunshot wounds frequently proved fatal. Multiple wounds meant certain death through blood loss or infection, yet Slade's will refused to yield. A doctor arrived days later, extracting the bullets from Slade's body, a procedure endured with only whiskey dulling the pain. Beni fled, understanding what he had created. Not a corpse, but a man forged in pain and consuming rage. As Slade recovered, his purpose narrowed to vengeance. August 1861, 17 months had passed since Jules Beni had left Slade for dead. During this time, Slade had built an extensive network of informants across the territory, stagecoach drivers, station managers, and locals who understood the value of staying in his good graces. While Beni made the fatal error of returning to the region, these vigilant eyes immediately sent word to Slade, setting in motion the reckoning that he had long awaited. Slade acted with calculated precision. He dispatched 4 mounted men to capture Beni with a substantial reward promised. His instructions came with one crucial stipulation: Beni must be taken alive. Slade wanted Beni to face him personally. The hunting party succeeded, bringing Beni to the Cold Spring Pony Express station in Wyoming. They tied him securely to a post in the station's corral. When Slade arrived, the two men faced each other again, captor and captive, lawman and outlaw, with the roles now reversed. Beni, bound to the post, saw something in Slade's eyes that made him realize the company's superintendent he had ambushed no longer existed. In this place stood something hardened by pain, transformed by the promise of vengeance. What would happen next would shake even the hardened frontiersmen who had witnessed it. But before we reveal what happened with this encounter, make sure to hit that like button. Slade began by shooting Beni's fingers off one by one, each shot precise and deliberate. After this prolonged suffering, he finally delivered the fatal shots. Death didn't end Beni's humiliation. True to his promise, Slade cut off both of Beni's ears. He pocketed these grisly trophies, one of which would indeed become a watch fob, exactly how he had vowed. Witnesses observed the final transformation of Jack Slade. Here was a man who had represented law and order now engaging in barbarism. The lawman had become something lawless in his pursuit of vengeance. In the coming months, Slade began drinking heavily, and his behavior grew increasingly erratic. The careful, efficient superintendent was disappearing, replaced by a man whose demons were only beginning to surface. After killing Jules Beni, Jack Slade continued his work for the Central Overland, yet something had fundamentally changed in him. The man who had survived 5 bullets now seemed possessed by demons only the alcohol could quiet. His drinking evolved from occasional indulgence to daily necessity, and his behavior grew increasingly erratic. Like a frontier wildfire, the violence Slade had unleashed on Beni consumed his own character from within. Co-workers witnessed a reliable superintendent transform into something unpredictable, missing meetings, making careless mistakes. Sober moments revealed glimpses of the incompetent lawman, but those grew increasingly rare. When drinking, Slade became volatile and dangerous. By November 1862, the Central Overland dismissed him for drunkenness, removing the last structure keeping his worst impulses in check. Without his position, Slade lacked both purpose and restraint. He relocated to Virginia City, Montana, a booming mining town, and descended further into chaos. According to the Rocky Mountain News, Slade rode his horse into saloons and shot up the establishments, disrupting card games during drunken sprees. He picked fights indiscriminately, cursed at strangers, and once overturned a milk wagon simply because he could. The former lawman had become a public menace, an unpredictable threat more dangerous than the outlaw Beni had ever been. Virginia City's Vigilance Committee, formed to address lawlessness, soon turned their attention to Slade. Despite their warnings, he remained confident his reputation would shield him. On March 10, 1864, Slade was drunk and firing pistols randomly through town. The vigilantes arrested him, held a quick trial, and sentenced him to hanging for disturbing the peace. This irony was complete. The lawman who executed an outlaw with such brutality now dangled from a vigilante's rope, killed for similar disregard of civilization's rules. Jack Slade's journey from lawman to outlaw reveals a truth about revenge. It transforms you. His initial motives seemed justified, removing a corrupt station manager, surviving an assassination attempt. But when he captured Beni, tortured him, and took his ears as trophies, something inside him broke. His fall was inevitable. The same justice system Slade once represented ultimately condemned him. Could anyone wielding unchecked power avoid the corruption that consumed him? In the Wild West, the line between enforcing justice and becoming the criminal was razor thin. Thank you for watching, and check out the video below to see more gripping tales from the Wild West.